mother's body was pierced by a demonic spear, and the father threw his only weapon into the air and stabbed it directly into the back of his neck. His body instantly turned to stone. He sank to the bottom of the sea with his holy sword in hand, buying his 3-year-old son precious time to escape. 20 years later, the water level around the castle suddenly began to plummet, and the riverbed that once held water dried up completely overnight. On one of the remaining rocks lay a sword, which the soldiers were unable to pull out despite their best efforts. The king recognized it at once as the king's sword, once used by the former king Uther. A sense of foreboding rose in him. Fearing dire consequences, he hastened to seek the god of water and learned that Arthur, Uther's son, was still alive. If Arthur could draw the sword in the stone, the world would finally know his true identity as the rightful heir. The king quickly issues an order calling on all young men of age to attempt to draw the sword. Unexpectedly, Arthur is among them. Eager to leave as soon as possible, he jumps at the chance. No sooner had his hand touched the sword than he felt a sharp pain that caused him to immediately retract his hand. The soldiers around him didn't notice anything unusual, but instead mocked him and told him to leave if he couldn't do it. Arthur ignored their taunts and reached out his hand again, and to everyone's shock, the sword began to shine with a dazzling white light, causing the ground to tremble. As he continued to push, the sword came out of the stone, stunning everyone around him. At the castle, the king immediately senses the situation and orders his soldiers to arrest Arthur. But before they can catch Arthur, Arthur is knocked to the ground by the tremendous force of the sword. When he regained consciousness, he found himself locked in a cell facing a man holding a crown. It was then that Arthur learned of his tragic past. 20 years ago, a dark wizard named Mordred summoned a terrible voice with dark magic and led an army of wizards to attack the human world, shattering the peace that had long existed between mankind and wizards. Fortunately, the great wizard Merlin used his magic staff to create a holy sword and entrusted it to the goddess of the lake. The sword can only be used by Uther and his descendants to maintain peace between humans and wizards. Faced with a powerful enemy, King Uther drew his holy sword and single-handedly charged into the enemy camp, decapitating the dark sorcerer. Freed from the grip of dark magic, the giant elephant regained his sanity and threw the sorcerer's army into the abyss, where the once mighty sorcerer's army collapsed without a fight.